Alright, it's April the 23rd, 2025. Beautiful day to be alive, beautiful day to be clean. It's about lunchtime, 1:30 or thereabouts. I'd say she's probably a 45 degrees if she's a degree at all, which is hot, hot, hot. I remember years ago hearing a story about cars melting, and somebody had said, it's 45 degrees, cars are melting. What else would be happening? So I always had this fear that, like, that's the cutoff point. As soon as she hits 35 degrees, cars are going to start melting. And I had this idea in my head as if it was like a candle melting, you know? If you could picture a car melting down to a tiny little wick, a little bit like a candle. That's the visual that I had. Anyway, 45 degrees, she's 1 o'clock, she's the 23rd of April, and that's just the time. That's to fix this reality into onto a linear space, if that's even possible. There was a reason why I hit the red button, which we'll call the record button. It was here we go, yeah. So, there was a fella I was listening to there, and I'll have to come back to you with the name. But the core thesis of it is, you should stop fixing yourself. Relax. All is well. Everything's hokey-dokey. You have everything you need right now. Repeat that to yourself. You have everything you need right now. The core foundation of this book of his is that happiness is available to us in every moment. We are already happy. We are already joyful. But we're suffering under an illusion. And the illusion is created by what he calls the programming of the computer in your head. So he says, imagine you have a computer in your head, right? And it's programmed from a very young age through the religion you were brought up on, the education system you were brought through, the parenting styles of either one of your parents or both of them, the people you surrounded yourself with, and then also the radio, the television, the movies you watch, the music you listen to. Alright, so it was coming at you from all angles. And this resulted in a situation where you have almost like a programming language in your head, C++, yeah? So that now, in the present moment, if you're triggered by something, let's say, a thought or emotion might run through your mind. Generally speaking, there's ones that recur again and again and again. So let's say the idea pops into your head that you're not successful. Right? You're not successful. So the computer in your head says, that person in the suit that you just saw walking through the park, he's successful. Now he probably is making about 100 to 150k a day. He probably goes home to a mansion on the hill and kisses a beautiful starry-eyed blonde girl, and he's probably got 2.5 children. His third child is a midget. Anyway, you see this fella in a suit and you think to yourself, that's success. I'm not successful. What I have is something completely different. I don't wear a suit every day. I don't have a mansion on the hill. Possibly you can't even afford your rent. For me, I live in a tin shack on the outskirts of Bocklet in a town called Handu-Madan. And I bought my tin shack for $7,000. But sure, look, what I do isn't conventional at all. I drive around with a phone in my face. I don't wear a helmet. The risk that I run by not wearing a helmet is that a traffic warden will pull me over and find me the equivalent to $1,000. I'll accept that risk. Now, hold on, reverse. I'm not going down some tangent about why I'm not wearing a helmet. So you see the man in the park, he's wearing a suit. It triggers this idea, this feeling that you're less than. In fact, you're a failure. And your computer in your head says, you are feeling an emotion, and the emotion that I want you to feel throughout your body will describe it as anxiety. So, the emotion that plays out is one of anxiety. The computer in your head says you should feel less than. You should feel fear, you should feel anger, you should feel resentment, depending on whatever it is that has triggered you. Maybe you've seen two people walk down the park holding hands. They look like they're in love. The program in your head says, remember that movie Sleepless in Seattle you saw when you were 12? Yeah, well, you're supposed to be in love with somebody who looks like Meg Ryan. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be driving around the outskirts of Bucklet on a motorbike with no helmet, talking to a phone. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. Therefore, computer says you shall now have the feelings of anxiety, fear, resentment, whatever. So how do you get to the bottom of this? First of all, we're on the journey towards becoming aware of our awareness. So if we are aware that this is something that's happening in our head, that we are an amalgamation of all our different experiences and we're actually separate from that. The thing in our head that places an I at the start of most of our sentences, as opposed to the me that we might identify with when we look at ourselves in the mirror, that is an illusion. Now that's pretty big stuff to try and unpack, right? What do you mean the pronoun I that I place at the start of all my sentences is an illusion, right? Is this phone in my hand an illusion? Is the man that's beeping up my arse, is he an illusion? 3 people staring at me, talking to myself with no helmet on, is that also an illusion? Are they going to go home to their house later on today and say, we seen this fucking mad foreigner, he wasn't wearing a helmet and he was talking to himself on a thing called a phone? Anyway, you need to become aware of your awareness, almost like your thoughts and feelings are just these things that are acting out on a stage like an amphitheater. So imagine an amphitheater in your head and your emotions and feelings are actors on a stage and you're way up in the back. But you're looking down on this. But instead of realizing that you're a participant only by proximity, you identify with the play, you identify with the emotions, and you say the emotions and feelings on that amphitheater in my head, they're me. That's how I feel. I am depressed. I am sad. I can never be happy. I could be happy if I had ... If I had ... I would be able to ... So now you're just future tripping. Anyway, that's a little rant from me on the 23rd of April at 1 o'clock in Handu-Manan. I'm back in my hometown village of Handu-Manan, around the corner from my tin shack. I'm going to head back now, have a cup of coffee, and then hit the gym, and then I'll go down and collect my son. Over and out.